Hi everyone, welcome to Jed and Gary's wrestling podcast. We've got another one here for Dynamite on Wednesday night. It's Friday for me and Gary in the UK, but we did say it'll take a couple of days for us to get these because we're only casual fans. We don't do this as a professional, not yet. That is, hopefully, in months or years to come, we'll see. But Dynamite this week, a bit of a 50-50 show overall. But did you enjoy it necessarily, Gary? From my point of view, it was just a bit wobbly.
I think it definitely had parts that you could enjoy and other parts that were a little bit, you'll forget about them in maybe a month's time and just look back and go, oh yeah, that did happen. And I think that's a bit of a letdown really from AEW's perspective because I'm not used to that.
It is, I don't know, in my point of view, especially just going through our notes before we've just joined, I didn't necessarily think it was like booking or performance. I just think overall the show, there was just different type of elements at different points that made it different. So we'll go through segment, match through match, and we'll see what our thoughts are. I know exactly what segment you really loved for the show, and I will get to it because it was outstanding. To be honest, it was phenomenal. So it started off with the Inner Circle versus Best Friends and Friends, which I really hope they don't change the name to. Nevertheless, it was a 5v5 match. Inner Circle just taking a few bumps here and there, and Best Friends and Friends just doing a few spots. In the preview, I did say I was quite worried for this match, and I generally think I hit the nail on the head. A lot of this failed on my point of view. I didn't enjoy it half the much as what it should have been with the performers in it. But I'll just quickly run through it and then we'll get our thoughts. Inner Circle come out. Jericho comes out with the orange stained jacket. I'm just pinning that in there for anyone that missed that. And then they're in the ring. The other team come out. They share a few blurred words. Sam is all up and down with Orange. One thing that did make me laugh, though, was Orange did a lazy leg sweep to Ortiz before the match began. And Ortiz just stared at him blankly. It did make me giggle. There's a few parts for Orange and Hager that was very bright in the match. Then suddenly, the whistle blew and everybody ended up in the ring beating each other up because, you know, that ends up in AEW all the time. There was a part where everyone did over-the-top apron moves. Before the end of the match, Jericho gets Floyd the Bat, but Orange pins him. Well, not pins him, sorry, that's the wrong word to use. Orange grabs him, throws him out of the ring, throws him over the barricade. And then Sammy is on top rope, looking at Luchasaurus. And all in all, out of everybody, Matt Hardy's music hits. Sammy does that stupid WWE thing of, oh my God, what is that? Gets distracted. Luchasaurus basically does him in, pins him, 1, 2, 3. I hated the finish for this, Gary.
Yeah, I couldn't stand it either. I know it's not very often that we're very critical of AEW, but this match, I think how all of it was put together was actually not what we've come to expect over the last few months.
It was just, I just can't explain it. I think because it was a 5v5, it's Orange and the Jericho feud. That's what it's fueling more and all. I know that we had a few estimates or outlandish suggestions of what they could go into. But I think it was the finish. I'll be honest, I genuinely forgot Matt and Sammy were having a feud because Sammy has been off TV for the last few weeks. And when his music hit and he came behind him and threw him into Luchasaurus, I'll be honest, there's a very few times I put my head in my hands when I'm watching wrestling. And it was just one of them moments. It was just, what have you done here? I can't believe you've done one of these finishes. I don't mind if you use these finishes every now and again, but it was just, I don't like the music plays. You get distracted. Use it in a different sort of way. I think if it wasn't Matt, or if it was like, is he called Damascus, his other character?
Yeah, he's one of the characters, yes.
If he did a projection of him or something, with like flames going up in the air, and then saying, I want you, Sammy, or something like that, then you have a reason to be distracted because he's there. But it's the fact that Matt plays his music, seriously comes behind him, throws him. It was just horrendous. And I don't think the match was that good. I was trying to look out for Hager, see if he does any good spots, because I really liked him like last week, as I mentioned before. But no, I think the only thing I got out of this match is I really want a Luchasaurus and Hager match, definitely. That's all I got from this match. And it just, this was a poor start to the show compared to what we had last week. And I think that's what the real shame was, all in all.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there was some highlights, like Chris Jericho and the even oranger coat than it was last week, or Orange Cassidy, and like you said, his little thing with Ortiz at the beginning. Yeah, but apart from that, everything just seemed a little bit off.
It did.
I think it was rushed, and I think that affected it. I think when it comes to like the buzzer going off, when that happens, it's usually 5-10 minutes into the match. It just seemed to come around really quickly in this one.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was
know
like
if you picked up on
instant.
that.
Yeah, really, really instant. It was like, because usually with big men tag matches, as you know, you have a few tags made, you do a few different side of things. Like we knew Jericho were going to be in the ring at the very beginning, and then one of them two tags in to fight against Orange. That was bound to happen. But it was just, it was the only word I can use. It was very stale, a very stale beginning for me. But at least it's fueling another feud. Matt and Sammy, I don't really want to see that feud, but at least it's continuing on. I'd rather them just finish that off somehow. But I think that's what they're going to go to all out in. You never know.
Did you notice what?
Go on.
Sorry, Chad, go on.
No. It's me just going on a tangent. What were you going to say, Gary?
Did you notice the commentators turned around and said, Matt Hardy, when you were talking about Damascus, Matt Hardy doesn't want to do any of the gimmicks anymore, and that he just wants to be Matt Hardy? Well, if you know me, you've been knowing that I've been looking forward to the debut of Big Money Matt on AEW TV for the past 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So the fact he doesn't want to do the gimmicks anymore has really disappointed me.
I know, the one with BTE was it Frankie Kazarian that he was on this week? It was funny.
Yeah, with the accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just brilliant.
Yeah, it's one thing though that Matt Hardy is really, I really attract to. It's the different type of gimmicks. Like if we'll go on a different tangent in a different point of view, but if I ever create my own wrestler, it would have several different gimmicks towards it. And that's for people like Matt, as you know, with Mick Foley, and that's why I really like Bray Wyatt, even though they're slowly putting down in the spinner, but never mind. That's where I really like Matt, and I thought that was one of the decent things he did in the Stadium Stampede when they were in that little swimming pool. He casually came out with all these different personas, and if he doesn't want to do it in the future, it's quite disappointing. And I think it'd be really fun to see Sammy go against different parts of Matt as well. So say, imagine this feud does happen. He beats Matt, and then Damascus comes out, and he has to beat Damascus in a way. And then he keeps beating these types of Matts, only to realise, oh no, Jericho is the bad one. And then that's how they turn him babyface. But we'll wait and see. Again, it's funny that we've come away from this match and we're talking about Matt's gimmicks and not this match. And I think that was the sad bit about it. It was just, there's nothing really to speak about this. Even my notes are very, very little. The only thing I've got is in big bold writing, that Clagston or the whistle where everyone just fights at each other. But is there anything else you want to add on to this one, Gary? Because there's nothing for me.
No, not really. I do agree with your thoughts on the Jake Hager Luchasaurus possible outcomes. But apart from that, there's nothing really to say about it.
It was. I think the only thing I can add, and I'm sorry for going back onto it, is what I mentioned last time in the preview. It's the stipulation. I think that's all it needed. Some table spots, some things to get people eliminated out. Think back again, Stadium Stampede. It was the story of the Elite taking Inner Circle out one by one and leaving them to shred. They could have done that here, where somebody from the Inner Circle got, say Ortiz, for example, got table spotted and he was just out of the picture for a bit. Then it was concentrated on a smaller group of people, and they slightly did that to elimination of where it was just Luchasaurus, Sammy, and Orange and Jericho. You could have compacted a story into a shorter way by using a stipulation, but I know the stipulation's there for blood and guts in the future whenever crowds come back. That's it, really. That's the only thing I can think of.
No, definitely. It was very much a forgettable match. Like I was saying during the intro, just forget that it happened and move on.
And that's what we're doing right now, which went on to a Moxley promo, issued the threats with Brian Cage, basically saying he's beating down on a little kid half his size, which is Darby. And Moxley said Darby's not alone, which was ready for the main event in the future. And he basically called Ricky Starks a punk bitch, which I really enjoyed. And Moxley doesn't start the fights, but he damn finishes them. Decent promo, something we expect from Moxley, nothing much. We'll probably get onto it later on. And then it was the second match of the night, which was Warhorse and Cody. So a similar theme for me. I don't know how you felt at this one, Gary. I didn't want to ask you pre-hand because you might have different thoughts. Flat for me. The only thing I want to say before I go into the match was his handbag intro was phenomenal. I expect him to come on and shake the ropes like Ultimate Warrior, but I really enjoyed his going over to Griff Grayson. And is it Brian Jr.? What's his surname? Pillman, Brian Pillman Jr., all them three doing the headbang. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a rock star. I like a really AEW heavy metal three-man band with them three, and it'll be hilarious. But one thing I wanted to note, and I will say on Further Away, the commentators changed midway through this match, and I think that's what made it flat for me. But good introduction for Warhorse. One thing is JR tried to pull over Cody's facial expressions out of the match. Cody was very cocky throughout. And basically, Warhorse did his leg in from a top rope move, figure four to finish with Cody. He did a good counter as well before the figure four locked in by holding Cody's legs. I really appreciated that. Then the Dark Order came out. Warhorse threw Cody to one side. Then he got beaten up. Then Arn came in the ring, ready to spine buster the Dark Order. Then, Matt Cardona, one of your picks for him to show up eventually, which he did. He looked very red and very tanned when he did show up. Huge. Rare mind. I forgot what
that was the word that went through my mind as well. It was huge. So I don't think they'd be able to use it in AEW, but his finish is the Rough Rider.
He looks so good. I don't
think that would be the.
I think he'll use it.
And
it's
pretty impressive.
Name.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just don't think they'd be able to use Rough Rider just because I think WWE might own some sort of trademark with it.
Heavy Rider will be fine for his size these days. But he came out, basically, JR had to put over that him and Cody are friends. And yeah, that was it. Overall, Gary, did you enjoy the match?
It was okay. It wasn't a star-making debut like we were talking about last week with Eddie. But it wasn't terrible. I'm not going to say it was like absolutely revolting. You should skip this match. It was the worst thing ever. Again, it was just okay. I don't think that in 6 months' time we'll be talking about the match. Again, it just keeps coming back to that phrase. The second hour was miles better than the first. Let's just put it that way.
Definitely. I think in 2 weeks we won't be talking about this match. It was a bit of a shame, really. I think with all the fans trying to get Warhorse onto TV, onto a platform where we can see him, where people that haven't seen him before can see him. It was a bit of a shame. It was just a bit of a letdown. It looked to me that suddenly something happened where it changed all the aspects of it. And this is where I'm coming into it. So I pinpointed that Taz joined the commentary tree halfway through the match. So if anyone did spot it, Excalibur, he got up and left. And that's where the commentary team changed. And there's actually a reason for that. I've just gone off squared circle, so I've gone on much thing. And recent videos come to light where Excalibur and Kevin Owens were doing racial slurs in one of their promos back in the year 2000. And I think it was when Human Tornado owned, I forgot what company it was. Again, it's quick facts top of my head, should have them all. But he told him to do them. And I think that video came to surface at the beginning of the night. So Excalibur's choice was he's going to take him off TV. He probably spoke to Tony during the time. And that's why. And with that Excalibur's over enthusiastic tone, especially with a character like Warhorse. I think that's where it fell flat for me, because the crowd wasn't like as epic either. After the Griff Grayson and Pillman Jr. headbanging, that was it. I didn't really hear much of them, and it was a bit sad because from the other week with the Bucks match with Butcher and the Blade, I forgot that there was nobody in attendance because they were doing it away. But for this match, all I kept thinking was it's deadly quiet, and the commentary are not really putting over that much except for Cody's facial expressions. So the work was okay. Some moves were okay, bit sloppy here and there. I think Cody should have, I should say, taken more control of the match. It just looked like they changed the vision halfway through. Finish was okay. And I'll be honest, Matt's debut, I didn't look forward to it, because you know who the first person I thought walked out of the ring was? And it wasn't
Go
Matt.
on.
I thought it was Eddie Kingston. So in my head, I was thinking, oh, he looks a bit like Eddie, like his size, his build. And then his face like came close to us and went, that's not Eddie. Oh, it's Matt. Oh, yippee. Here we go. And I was disappointed. And I was disappointed in myself that I was disappointed in a deflated moment that Matt showed up. It was really, really interesting. Because I generally thought Eddie was going to come out. It wasn't babyface, but I thought he was going to beat up the Dark Order with Cody, and they were going to set up something like with Eddie doing an ongoing feud with Cody or something. Maybe something down that line. But that, I think, the deflation of the whole situation in itself just made the whole debut of Matt just a shame. Matt just needs to prove himself now. He was a jobber in WWE. He was sacked off by WWE, and he's friends with Cody, which is fine. But being friends with Cody is not what gets you over. He needs to do all the work now, and I'm hoping he does it in the coming weeks, to be honest.
Yeah, I think what's Cody said in the past, though, does ring true. If you can get over with the fans once, you can do it again. And he did it without any exposure on TV. So I would love to see him get an actual chance and not be driven off of a stage in a wheelchair for once. That would be nice.
Imagine now
But
if they had her and Britt Baker, him and Britt Baker together.
No, because she'd Eve Torres him every single time, wouldn't she?
Oh, it'd be phenomenal. And then he pushes her wheelchair off the side of the stage. Never mind, we're getting off
No,
it. But
don't be hurting my Britt Baker, all right? Just leave her alone. She's suffered enough. Have you not seen the injuries to the nose and the ACL? And please don't hurt her anymore. She needs wrapping in cotton wool. Save the women's division.
Hashtag. That's
Absolutely.
it. We'll get into it, but that will create that in the future. But do you think it's going to be exactly what you said in the preview, though, Gary? I know you said it this week and last week, where it's going to be one of them ones where Matt and Cody are going to be together, and then this is where if they do make Cody heel, he could betray Matt. Or do you think Matt can be a dick and betray Cody, or do you think there's going to be Bezzy mates because MJF's out of the picture?
I actually think it was the first prediction there where Matt can now be full-on babyface mode, and Cody can be a little bit of a dick. And in all fairness, he admits this anyway, so that's kind of his character anyhow.
Yeah.
So he can sort of just play up to that a little bit. I mean, I never actually thought Cody played the babyface against Dustin, to be honest with you. So I just see that character sort of developing into some sort of tweener heel sort of character, maybe in about 3 to 6 months, but it will happen.
I think it will.
It's kind of weird. It's weird to think when it comes to AEW that just 3 months ago he was the biggest babyface on the planet of wrestling.
Yeah, he was. In that promo he didn't see against Jericho, just put him on the pinnacle of babyface. But it's weird to think now that as the weeks and months have gone by, Cody is slightly going into the grey area, but more babyface because he's still that lead of the company as such. And then you've got Jericho, which he's again going into the grey area, and then they're just going to cross one day, not against each other, I don't think, but where one goes babyface from, well, heel to babyface, and then the other one goes babyface to heel, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. I'm just hoping the match next week of the Dark Order versus Matt and Cody, I hope Matt is the best one of the four, to be honest. And considering it's Silver, the two weakest ones of the whole of the Dark Order, I should say, tag team wise, it should be an easy win for Matt and Cody, but I just think he should be the one that shines next week.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of them booking it, isn't it? It's just to get Matt like renewed sort of support from the fans. So yeah, why not book him against two worst ones from a faction? Build up to some sort of Dark Order thing where he can get involved with all of that sort of stuff going on and work from there.
Yeah. Imagine him in BTE with the Dark Order, Matt and the Dark Order. That would be funny. So next was Tony, who was on the main stage. He was basically saying next pay-per-view is in the first week of September, All Out, and Jericho comes trundling out, furious, with the rest of the Inner Circle, still with his jacket. He's basically calling out him and Orange in 2 weeks' time, which we did mention the mid-season between the pay-per-views were coming up, and it seems to be in that 2 weeks. And then Sammy were calling out Matt Hardy, and Jericho were basically saying to Orange that if he wins, Orange needs to pay Jericho $7,000, a random figure, for his jacket. And then he explained that it was some demon juice on his jacket, made Santana smell it, and it was basically smelled like cat pee. But the interesting thing is, next week, there is a special guest moderator for a Chris Jericho and Orange debate, which he wants to beat him mentally and physically. Talk about outlandish, Gary.
Vince Russo.
Ooh.
You want me to go outlandish? I will pick the most outlandish person never to even get close to it. Who are you thinking?
Who is that guy that hates the Young Bucks? Jim Cornette, is that his name?
Jim Cornette.
Just imagine him as your special guest moderator. Obviously,
you mean Vince Russo's mortal enemy?
Definitely. Just get them both on. Yeah, get one on Orange's side. Yeah,
get them on at the same time. Why not? Yeah, bound to make good TV.
No, but I think overall, something different, something new, a really, really good comedy segment. We'll go into it more for All Out. I just really, really hope it's not Mike Tyson. I know it's Jericho picking it, and it shouldn't
now
be
that you
Mike.
mention it, and that pay-per-view is coming up soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I just don't want Mike to be there. I don't know who's Mike's fighting, but he is fighting a boxing match in September, or a charity boxing match. I'm unsure of the details, but he shouldn't.
It's an exhibition, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, so he shouldn't really
is it
be
Roy Jones Jr.?
I'm not sure. Not sure, to be honest, Gary. But all I know is he hasn't a match, so I can't really see him showing up. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll get onto it more in the preview. I'm just looking forward to that comedy segment, something new. Onto one segment to another. There's a backstage legal meeting with FDR, finally contract signing. The interesting side about this was Arn Anderson showed up with them. So that is a very, very big tease to the Four Horsemen, as we've previously mentioned. And they really, really want a tag team appreciation night again in 2 weeks' time. That sounds extremely interesting. And then Hangman Page shows up at the very, very end. He pours everyone a drink just to congratulate him signing up. Obviously, he gives FDR a small shot, and he pours a full glass for himself of whiskey. FDR basically says cheap drinks. Hangman lets that slide. Really, really fun segment in the end. I just really inspired by Arn showing up, to be honest. I think that was the pinnacle side of this segment for me. That was the thing that highlighted this side.
Yeah, I actually thought it'd be Tully that walked through the door when that door started opening.
Oh, yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah. Just because I thought 100% he's been watching them for weeks from the stands. What better way to refresh the Tully character than to have him lined up with FTR, but then you've got the whole Brainbusters thing, haven't you?
Yeah.
So there is still that link there, and I am very, very hopeful for the future.
It's really, really well fused together, the storyline, because if you bring Orton into it, this is where the Cody side of it comes in, and he's not really. Yeah, there's been very faint teases with Cody, but I still don't think he'll be in the Four Horsemen in the future. But it's just the well interacted where you got FTR with Hangman Page building that trust up with the Young Bucks, and you've got the Omega being a bit frictionless with the FTR. Then you've got FTR with Tony Khan that wants to concentrate slowly on the tag team. It's quite funny, really. You've got WWE that really concentrates on the women's division, and we're basically seeing what's the word, revolution style type of tag team thing on AEW here, which is it's quite good. I'm really, really looking forward to what they're going to do in the future, and I just love it. Just love it all.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I miss tag team wise is the Lucha Brothers. I think that's they need to fix themselves up and come back as quick as possible with Pac.
Yes, I was about to say, do you think they're waiting for the Englishman?
Who doesn't wait for the Englishman? I thought that was the whole point of how history worked.
Precisely. Yeah. It is. Yeah. We see an island. We want to try and get it, Gary. That's all it is. It's British Empire stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it's small island syndrome, isn't it?
So going from tag teams to tag teams, you get the Dark Order versus Hangman Page and Omega tag team title match. The interesting side about this is Brody Lee shows up with Colt. And did you see and mention Anna Jay was there as well, which I really, really like. They're getting her on the TV side of it. Colt joins the commentary team. And then Page comes out with his entrance. Before Omega comes out, Page attacks the Dark Order. Omega's a bit peeved. And then JR did make me pop, I'll be honest. He basically looked up at Brody Lee and went, "Good to see you, Brody Lee. Wow, you're such a large man." Then a few spots in the match, Evil Uno gives Kenny Omega, basically hands the referee Kenny's leg to do a move on him, which I really, really enjoyed. Stu looked amazing like we usually does because he's top out of that group. And then Buckshot V-Trigger combo on Evil Uno, 1, 2, 3. Brody Lee tells Anna Jay and Colt to go to the back. He looks really, really angry, really, really pent up. And then the segment from BTE that you did say, Gary, not directly this one, but something from BTE you did say will show up. He throws the papers at Evil Uno, basically saying, calling them failures and whatnot. And then Brody Lee points at Page, basically saying your friends are here. Even Kenny here. He thanks Kenny for showing up. And then basically Brody Lee says the strength in numbers. The Young Bucks are in the ring at this time because he calls them up. The Dark Order jump the barricades, surround the ring, and I'm really, really liking FTR's 2 entrances. Their car, their truck, when they've got a match, and every time they need to show up in the ring to help somebody, slashing a cool box over the head of like Brody Lee. I just love it. That cool box thing is really good. All in all,
yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, Jed, but I actually thought that the commentary there with JR just going, and that's another icebox, just absolutely popped me at that moment. I was absolutely like delighted.
He's disappointed, JR, that's why, because one, either his JR sauce is either in it smashed on the floor or his beer is just gone and he has to go and get another cool box to cool it whilst he's watching the match. He sounded a bit slurred every now and again. It sounded like he had a few. This is where I believe the night picked up slightly for content. It wasn't the best of matches, definitely by a mile not the best. Kenny and Hangman Page match by far definitely not the best, but it was entertaining as such, and it's passable as a team match. But all in all, it was okay. What do you think, Gary?
It was passable, definitely. I actually thought it was good, and definitely furthered a storyline or two. And I'm actually really sort of intrigued where both sides of that goes. I really can't wait to see what happens with Colt. For some
Yeah.
really strange reason, I want Colt to see something happen, and I just want to see what his reaction is. Because either way, whether he sort of gets intrigued by it and falls even further into the Dark Order, or he turns completely on Brody Lee, either way, that just adds so much forward-going storyline to that. It's unreal. So I can't wait to see how that unfolds. And the way that the show's going, maybe it'll even happen within the next couple of weeks, because, as you said, that mid sort of season between pay-per-views is coming up, and this do seem to be building that show up pretty well.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe Brody Lee gets Colt as a tag team partner, and he sees something that he doesn't like, and etc. etc. But there's an outlandish prediction in advance for anyone that cares to listen. Let's see what happens from that.
I think outlandish is not the way for it. I think that's a genuine prediction, to be honest. I think with Colt itself, it's good because either decision he makes, he's got a feud. If he doesn't join the Dark Order, Brody Lee's going to destroy him, or he's going to send Stu after him. If he joins the Dark Order, fantastic. There might be a Colt versus Hangman match. There might be a Colt versus Omega match. There might even be a
And that's
Colt.
the one I'm looking for.
Correct. There might even be a Colt versus Cody match for the title because the Dark Order showed there. I just like how it's all intervening. This is why the Dark Order now are strongest. It's this comedy segments from BTE into now Dynamite. It's really, really enjoying. I generally think that Evil Uno and Grayson, I didn't think they were going to win at all. I didn't think they were going to win. But I like it now that they're getting on the bad side of Brody, because I generally think them two as a tag team face will be phenomenal because they're funny. They're a funny duo, and the Dark Order itself is brilliant. Still keep Brody an absolute monster, and maybe use Stu as like a heel character and just move Evil Uno away, make him like face with a few others. Like I love Silver on it. He's brilliant on BTE. And then you can just have like the perfect mix then. You can keep the BTE content up, get that onto Dynamite a bit more often. Even a few highlights from BTE will be kind, because I really love that paper throwing segment. It was phenomenal. And I just like the intervening of it. Just the Kenny and Hangman Page, you've got that ongoing. You've got that with the FTR. You've got that with the Bucks. And all in all, I think Dynamite and AEW, Tony wants to make a world record of the most men in a match versus each other. It's gone from 4v4, from 5v5 to 6v6 next week. The hell are you doing? Was it going to be like 8v8? And
well, WWE did do that 10v10 match a couple of years back at Survivor Series, didn't they?
yeah.
So we've
this,
got to at least get over that.
This is where they're going. They're going to have basically, in a year's time, 6 months' time, half the roster on Dark Order versus the other half that's not on Dark Order. And Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler get the winning pin for the whatever it is. But never mind. The 6v6 next week, I think, will be okay. I think it'll be much, much better than the 5v5 because it's got the Bucks in it. And you know they can call a big tag team match. So when we get to the preview, it'll be phenomenal. I am looking forward to the 6v6 next week. More confidence in that than the 5v5 this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you add the Bucks to something, it just immediately goes up at least 1-star rating, no matter what happens.
Yeah, so expected 3, automatic 4.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that Dave Meltzer would agree at this point.
That's it, Gary. I've just got an idea that we can do. Starting from next week's reviews, we'll have our own star rating and we'll do our own and we'll keep track of it. So in like a year's time, we can see back on this day, you said this match, you give this rating, I'll give this rating. We'll do that from next week. That's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah, all right. No problem. I'm up for that. If the audience wants it, then we'll give it to them.
all 16 subscribers now. So that comment from, I think it was Honey Badger. We've got 2 more now, so please keep them counting. Honey Badger's our go-to for our comment section. Thank you for that. Only comment the other week, much appreciated. So it went on to the Britt Baker. She was in the Rolls Royce, basically calling out Big Swole in the tag team tournament. Tells Big Swole that she will be beating her in the next coming, but there needs to be an opponent of her choice first. We'll get on to that in the preview, but a rough guess who you think that opponent's going to be, Gary?
I'm actually trying to think of the women's division right now.
And that's the tough side about it. I just want it to be Reba. Just sacrifice her.
It could be, but is there any chance of getting Rio back over from Japan by that point? Do you reckon?
Do you think Britt would choose Rio, though?
Well, she's small, isn't she? So knowing Britt, she just thinks she's puny, so I'm better than her anyway. And it makes a statement because she's a former champion.
Fair play. Yeah, the former champion side of it. Or if you get heel and heel, you can have the former champion Nyla. I have got one person for this prediction, and I will tell you in the review, the preview next week. And I did mention them in the preview this week, so that's the only clue I'll give you. And then next was the women's match: Diamante versus Shida. A little promo beforehand for Diamante, which was much needed for the women's division. Oh, sigh, Gary. Just sigh.
I'm just sad. I really am just sad.
Just tell us what you think, and then I'll tell everybody what happened.
I was really looking forward to Diamante on Dynamite, and the 2 matches that she's had have either been unfortunate or just a little bit less than I expected. And by a little bit less, I mean incredibly less. I'm just trying to be polite. There's the Englishness in me. But yeah, I just feel bad for Shida because we all know that she deserves better.
Yeah.
And again, from day one, Shida and Britt have been the focus of the division for me, or the 2 that I've paid attention to, especially since Britt turned heel. And I just think that Shida is the perfect sort of babyface internationally for that championship. And I just see her title reign and I go, oh, and that really is disappointing at this point. And in all fairness, we'll get onto it later, but I also have that feeling about another champion.
Okay, fair play to you. Opinions heard. I think with the women's division, it's so unusual that they get it really, really hot when it came to the Shida and Penelope Ford match. And again, Penelope Ford on Dark, there was a squash match. It was fantastic. That would have been better than watching this Diamante Shida match. I think it's Shida's definitely worst match here. But is it because the Diamantes didn't gel with her? The lack of experience between her? What was it? It was just really, really poor. It just didn't gel. And I think that's the best word for me.
It was 2 styles that just didn't seem to work. Again, I said last week I thought that Eva Lee should have won because she knows different styles better than Diamante.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to take away from Diamante's talent. She is a very talented female wrestler who deserves at least a chance to get better known than she is. And she should have had it years ago when she was with TNA Impact. But for some reason, that never worked out. And now we're here after, I believe, a run in Lucha Underground, but people can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong with that. And I just think, yeah, there's just something missing at the minute for her. And hopefully something happens soon, maybe in that tag tournament, where she can actually show off what she can do.
Yeah. I think for me, the way I would book it now is you get in Britt Baker ready. She's ready to come back for All Out. Never mind this tag team tournament. We'll get into that in a second. But you get her now to beat Swole. I wouldn't mind Swole winning. because Britt Baker, she can lose a few matches, a bit like Sammy now because of that heel type of character. She could have lost, but I wanted to win now and then run over, even though she's fully well and fit, Shida with the Rolls Royce, okay? Run her over, and then you've got that feud instantly. And she just needs to absolutely grind Shida down fully, where she gets really, really peeved and she wants to go after Britt and like pull her hair out and stuff. I think that's the only way you can do it now. But we'll get into it much more. I was extremely disappointed with that match. So next, what happened was the Deadly Draw, is what they're calling it, and it's happening on Monday, and it's happening on YouTube. So away from Dynamite, what it is the women's tag team tournament. There's no teams going into it. Every single woman that's entering the match will have to draw a colour, and whoever matches that colour, they are tagging with. And at least they confirmed that it's not tag team championships. They're winning a cup, which fair enough. They confirmed that to us, Gary. That was one of the things we had as a query.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite neat. I think championships would be well, but they need to fix the women's division before that. Different conversation for a different time. Nyla shows up. She's there with Vicky Guerrero. She pulls out a purple colour. Oh, you know, in all, the person interviewing her says, someone else has pulled out that purple colour. Do you know who that is? Who is it, Gary?
It's Arian Andrew, formerly known as Cameron, one of half of the Funkadactyls from WWE.
And when did she not wrestle since? Do you know?
Was it 2016?
Precisely. So she hasn't wrestled for goddamn 4 years. So me personally, until I get on my massive rant about the women's division and how it's been relegated to YouTube, I generally think this is going to be quite interesting for Nyla, because if you get given someone that hasn't wrestled for 4 years, me thinking that's going to be an angle where Nyla's going to destroy every tag team, gets to the final, gets to the semi-final by destroying someone. And then her tag team partner obviously is just not either getting tagged in, or she's just laughing, rolling her eyes on like the sideline. And then at least that can set up a feud between them for the future if you wanted to get back into wrestling. Otherwise, if she doesn't get back into wrestling, she can just be one of them people. As long as she doesn't do the funkadactyl things again, I am happy with that. So that is actually a decent idea if they do it. So, Gary,
yeah, I do see them going that way with it. To be honest with you, I just see Nyla being the one that gets in the ring, destroys the opponents. 1, 2, 3, end of. Ariane just standing on the sidelines, laughing, cackling, going along with what's happening.
Yeah.
End of the tournament. She's got this massive ego. Nyla shuts her up. End of.
Yeah. Or, because she hasn't wrestled for this long, she shuts Nyla up, and then Vicky's like, what are you doing? In a high-pitched voice. I can't do it that high pitch anymore. My balls have dropped since, even though it may not sound like it. I'm glad you stopped me there, though, Gary, because I was going to go on a massive rant. Is there anything you want to add to any of the women's division before I rip it to shreds?
Rip it to shreds, because I get the feeling that I might be adding a couple of things at the end of this.
Okay, very good. So I want AEW to be the best company in the whole of wrestling. I want it to outdo WWE in the end. Obviously, that is not a short-term goal. That is a very, very long-term goal. And to do it, they need to make sure every division is at its very best. Okay, so what are they doing? They're putting this now tournament on YouTube on Mondays. They're doing matches on Mondays, not even dark. So they're getting away from Dynamite. They're not even doing it on dark. What are you doing? I'm sorry. I appreciate it. I'm a casual fan. I need time to go and watch this. If you give me it on Dynamite, if you feed me, I'm speaking like Ryback now. If you feed me the content on Dynamite, I can dissolve it. I can take it in. I can watch it there and then to ensure that I develop the storylines. I get connections with all these characters. I look at the storylines. If you put it on YouTube, in the back ends of YouTube, like we're doing with our podcast at this morning time, not that many people will see it. And when you make them storylines on Dark, on Dynamite in the future, they're not going to be as effective. What these women need is time to develop their characters, time to get over. You give him mat time and he just showed up 2 seconds, and I was very annoyed at him showing up on the show. Give these women time. Like Penelope Ford's been relegated to dark and she was getting good. It's like Kip Sabian. Get them two together again, get them together, and they're a good heel couple. But she's the bigger part. I prefer her, even though Kip has very got his big personality in it. She's away from it. You're not giving her much time. And again, it's exactly what I said in the review side of it, Gary. They're only giving the women's division a small, limited number. All three of this women's segments, Brit, the tournament, and the match, came collectively. Yes, you could see it on the other, being devil's advocate to myself. I know I'm answering my own question here. The tag team division was his own little segment. But the fact is, the women need this time to get better, to try and go against NXT, the best women's division in the wrestling business at this moment in time. They're going against that on a Wednesday night. They need to be spread out through it. They need to get as many storylines, get people over. You give the mic to Brit, she got herself over. Give the mic to all the people.
Are you happy?
No.
Yeah, I could tell. Now, from my perspective on it, and this might just surprise a few people, YouTube has bigger exposure than their TV deal does. However, this is not how you build a division, and it does annoy me more than I will ever tell anyone. And this is because for weeks I've been saying, since this tag team title tournament was announced, it'll get the women on TV, and young girlfriends of people that are watching, right, would have someone to look at, and they could go, I like them, I can see myself in them. What you've done is you've relegated their importance to the C show. It's not even the B show. The B show's dark. Put it on dark. First round of the tournament, yeah, fair enough, dark. I get you've got 2 hours of TV time per week that you need to fill, and you have several storylines going on at the minute that you can't take that TV time away from. However, I do not think that putting it on an episode of Dark is a difficult thing to do.
No.
If you just call it Dark Women's Tournament, fine. I don't mind that. And I know it's still on YouTube, right? But I'm aware of the brand name that is AEW Dark. This tag tournament is going to be something that, unless you're subscribed with notifications turned on, which please do for our channel, you will never be able to see, because YouTube will hide it away just because it's that dirty word of wrestling. It won't promote it. The women won't get promoted. They won't get over. So you have to press reset again in 3 to 6 months' time on these tag teams, on these women, on these girls that are coming through. How would I know the next time that I'm going to see a Penelope Ford on TV?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. The problem as well, when it comes to it, as you mentioned earlier, is that all the women's matches and segments always seem to come together in the same 15-minute segment of AEW. If there is any segment that needs spread out through the night and made more important, given more time, it's the women's division. And a few years ago, fans turned to WWE and said, give divas a chance. Today, I ask all of you fans to ask AEW, give the women a chance. And that's where I stand.
It is. It's that very, very fine subject that we're not going to get into this day. We all know where it is. We've seen the recent allegations for a lot. Sexism, well, within businesses within the company. I've not seen it a lot in the company I work at, to be honest, so I've not been exposed that much, but there is a hell of a lot of women, a hell of a lot of people that have seen and experienced it, and it happens just in wrestling, and you can see it happening in all these wrestling companies now, and this is just another subject to that, it being relegated. Totally agree, Gary. get them on. I genuinely think, I can't remember top of my head if there's been a Dynamite that started with a women's match or a woman's promo.
Yeah, I genuinely can't remember one that hasn't. We're 43 episodes in now.
I would pop if Britt was the first person I saw. Simple as that. Boom.
She should be the only person that we see.
Get her a commentary. That's it now. Yeah, get her a commentary.
Absolutely. 100%, right? The few bits of commentary that she's done with Tony, right, have been my highlights of the shows that she's been doing that with. Just because her interactions with Tony is the highlight of the show for me. Every week.
Did like how she had to make Tony like say to the crowd, like say to everybody that she's about to make an announcement, even though she had a mic in her hand. It did make me giggle. Okay, so from dark to light, I should really say. The best thing of the week for me, I can tell you now, SmackDown has nothing on this next segment. Gary, all I can say is MGF's promo. Go for it, mate.
When you talk about a star-making moment, you talk about CM Punk and his promo. You talk about Austin and 316. You talk about The Rock burying Billy Gunn. To me, this was MJF not just announcing his candidacy as the champion of AEW. This was MJF announcing his candidacy as the savior of professional wrestling. Whether you saw that promo as a heel promo, which it was meant, especially at the beginning, sexism again, but that was just his character. It wasn't the man. We do need to separate them completely. Onwards to the very end, where he's talking about Jon Moxley's reign of terror and Dictator John, and the way that the world has changed because of him, blaming every war and famine on him. But the bit that got me 100%, and I have listened to this a lot more than I care to admit, was the bit at the end when he turned round and he just started going, I bleed black, white, and gold. I am AEW. I am the future of this company. And my time is worth more than your talents. What more do you want to set up a feud? What more do you want to set up your next AEW champion?
I'll be honest. I'll be deadly honest with you, Gary. I went on Twitter after the promo because he mentioned like not my champion hashtags and all that. And there was loads and absolutely loads of people saying, we agree with you. We want you to be champion. And I'll be honest, with this current era that's going on, it'll be phenomenal. It'll be a decent change because he can just turn around and go, well, you can't blame it because Moxley can go, well, I think it's just the era. He is the title belt as such, even though he gets beat. But MJF goes, no, it's not the era, it's you. And then they can add an extra feud on when if he wins the title with Moxley again, because he's making it better. And if he does make it better, there you go. That's another feud. So all in all, he's just an absolute golden star. He's just a golden mouthpiece.
Yeah. I think there's another YouTube channel out there, right? This week, there's only one golden up that will be given. And I believe that this is it.
I have not watched that video
yet. I haven't seen the show yet, so I would not know. However, it has to be, doesn't it?
Definitely. I can't get enough of this. I've watched this 3 times now. And there's a few things I want to bring up with you, Gary, just in case you've seen them and missed them. And I only spotted a few when I went on Reddit through Squared Circle last time. I'll just quickly go through what happened. So MJF came out. Really appreciate the beginning. He just basically walks out his door He gets given gum by some randomer, does an autograph, and then he pats the cheek of some other randomer as well. He gets given the full red carpet presidential treatment with the Pandora. The actual table he speaks at, I forgot what the name is, nearly pronounced it wrong anyway. It's got the colour of his scarf, podium, that's the word. And when I mentioned the preview, he goes around the crowd. He actually went to a woman, had a fake baby in her arms, kissed it, used mouthwash at the end just to top it off. Phenomenal. And then I really, 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 really appreciated Wardlow walking around with him looking like his Secret Service. Just top that off. So he thanked Tony to speak to us marks. People. Wrestling fans are not bright. He has to force feed us all this information. He rips it open like the whole president candidacy sort of process. He rips into Griff again about bench warmers. He is on about certain individuals being upstaged, and it's all about change. So it's all about them keywords in the presidential candidates that he uses. Really good. So out with the old, in with a new place for Titan. It's a place that Titans came, but he needs to knock them down. He's stating it's a dictatorship. Moxley's not his champion. He basically calls him John, and then calls him Jonathan at one point, which I really enjoyed. He's the only person to make John Moxley go from badass to a little kid by using the word Jonathan.
Just calling out the man behind the character.
Yeah, it's just insane. He's absolutely brilliant. He's a media analyst. He talks about ratings, how MGF is the bigger rated draw than John. He wants a new guide.
1 second on that.
Go on.
1 second on that, Jed, just so I can say. So what we've established over the past couple of weeks, right, is that the Young Bucks are a ratings draw for AEW, and MJF is a ratings draw for AEW.
1 second, Chuck.
So what I'm thinking is, currently, do the quarters as they break down reflect the thought that I've got, where people are more interested in AEW originals than they are of Titans cast-offs, so to speak.
In a way, the old guard of what he said.
Yeah, apart from Jericho, obviously. I think he's the only one that actually swings it, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a bit 50-50, because there was one week where, I think it was the week of, I don't like talking rated demos, but we do need to every now and again. The Keith Lee Adam Cole match that got leaked pre-hand, and it was the Orange versus Chris Jericho, and they were massively under for that, which you wouldn't expect because they're two really, really great starters. But yeah, I get you, because Kenny is lower on draws, John's lower on draws. But again, I don't look at figures all the time. I don't look at demos all the time. If Cody ever listens to this podcast, he may tweet up and basically say, no, that's not right. Here's the figures, which is fine. But I do agree. For me,
I've always been all right with being proven wrong. If anyone knows any better, just let me know. I'm more than willing to learn.
Exactly. And if I sound contradicted any time, call it out, because that's how I improve. But all in all, I do prefer the new stars. Sammy, MGF, Jungle Boy, Orange is phenomenal. Even Marco Stunt is a bit of a draw, but not in a draw, but he got over Luchasaurus.
Yeah,
that sort of people, phenomenal. So back onto it. He's been leading the company for 25 years. I'm going to get back to that point in a second. And then he screams at the camera, challenging John to all out. And if you listen carefully, Taz jumps on the bandwagon, which I really appreciate, because he's the heel commentator this time, and he's only just recently joined the commentary team, so this was on his own back most likely. That we do deserve better, and we do deserve a new champion. Well done, MGF, and claps him. Phenomenal work from Taz. That. Okay. Do you know what I got out of it, Gary? What slight hints did I see? There were two things that were brought up, and a few points that were from Reddit that got from me. So 25 years, I did find a very unusual number to choose. So this goes into the ongoing similarities with
Hulk Hogan?
No, Chris Jericho. So Jericho's previously mentioned, and they've both mentioned do the math. 25 years.
Yeah.
So if Moxley's there for 25 years, can't remember how the math is calculated, is on Reddit Squared Circle, but it links them both together. And as we both know, there's been an ongoing, since AEW's been created, this secret mini feud that they mirror each other. Hager and Wardlow, MJF maybe getting a sort of band of people, hashtag the Four Horsemen eventually, which will basically be Jericho's inner circle. There's loads and loads of ties them together. We will do a video on this in the future, guys, because I want to have a great conversation with Gary, and I think it will be good as a separate video. Just highlight it to all, just to see if what you've missed. War famine references to do with Four Horsemen, which is really good, and the bit that links him to FDR directly. He doesn't like the flips and all the big style of moves in AEW.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I did pick up on that bit.
Juicy
and
stuff.
it was the bit where it was like flip, fly, or die, I think was the phrase that he used. Flip, flop, or die sort of scenario, or jumped up gymnastics. Yeah, whereas the wrestling gone. Quotes like that coming out from him, and I was just like, yes. And it was very 80s sort of promo as well, if you paid attention to it.
It was.
And it was just an absolute flashback that I think in 2020 it actually seems pretty fresh.
Okay, so do you remember back in the day, Shawn Michaels' barbershop promo, the super kick?
Yes.
The setup,
yes, absolutely.
The way it was set up, the portrayal, and it engraves in your mind. This is how I felt with this promo. The way it was set up, yeah, it was all HD and getting 4K and whatnot, with Shawn Michaels being on fuzzy vision, being portrayed through like film through a potato. But never mind. It was that sort of way. It was there to make you remember this for weeks to come, for months to come, for years to come. And I loved his new branding and everything, and his like Titatron. It was superb. It was just chef's kiss. Thank the Lord for non-scripted promos. Yes, he probably planned this for Ed, but he did it. But maybe with a slight help with other people, but there wasn't a writing team that basically choked words trying to promote certain things. He did this all himself. Just outstanding. Me personally, if I had to rate this 10 out of 10, easy. Best thing you'll see promo wise this year. That'll better than Cody's babyface promo last year.
Yeah, I actually would go so far as to say it's been the best AEW promo so far. And I know that we've had a little bit of the bubbly, but some things are just a quote-unquote old hat now.
Yeah.
And I just think he's, as Evolution would say, passed us by. I did hint last week, right, that MJF may just be better than us.
He is. And I know
and I do think that might be on the verge of being told true. We don't deserve him as he is. We
1 year younger than me, and he's absolutely outstanding. Yes, his ring work's not phenomenal, but it doesn't matter if you can speak like that.
I think if you can speak, you don't need to be AJ Styles.
Correct. And if you can speak, you can basically be what Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and John Cena are in a couple of matches. 6-move wonders. Doesn't matter, does it? If he can perfect
so long as your finisher looks effective,
precisely,
doesn't matter at all.
Oh, the rock bottom. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. But it's a bit weird because his finishes are a bit. Oh, again, if we're going into this conversation, his finishes are a bit mixed at the moment. They're debating like if it's the salt of the earth, the armbar, or if it's that heat seeker. I really like the heat seeker, but the problem about the heat seeker is it's a bit like Randy Orton. You have to do a certain way around the ring to set it up. Like it's not a sudden surprise move. That's what he needs now. If you give him a sudden surprise, just give him Chris Jericho's elbow.
Well, in all fairness, right, if you go back to the similarities with Chris Jericho, he does have a history with arm bars.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You've got the lion tamer and the arm bar, haven't you?
Yeah, and you've got the man of 1,004 holes.
Whoa, juicy stuff. We're going to get into that in a much later call. By the way, guys, just for your references, we will be doing more content in August, slightly a bit more than our 2 podcasts. We're going to just do a bit of rebranding and whatnot because we're getting started, but I'll do that at the end of the show. Last match now, Gary. Main event, Darby Mox, Cage and Ricky Starks. Tornado tag, the first very tornado tag on AEW. I'll quickly run through it and then we'll have our thoughts. Darby's music plays, doesn't show up. Mox comes out, he's in the ring by himself. Then Taz, Cage, and Ricky basically do a promo, and Ricky does a promo, and God damn, Gary, I'm glad on the preview you said he is good with the mic, and God damn, he is. It was phenomenal. I enjoyed his mini promo. If anyone's not watched it, I didn't listen to it properly. Just watch. Yes, he is a mini version of Rock. And if he can get pushed to hell on earth, he might get up there. Might not be exactly like The Rock, but he can get up there. So what happens is they end up going to the ring. Darby does a coffin drop above the entrance onto them both. The match starts and all hell breaks loose. And all I will say is, what the hell did Ricky do to Darby to receive that finish? Basically what it was is Darby pulled out underneath the ring, planted, Taz wanted to say, on the air. I think he did really well in commentary, by the way, but I'm not going to go into that. A skateboard with tacks underneath it, top rope, jumped on Ricky Starks' back with the tags. It sort of dragged a little. I don't think that was supposed to happen. And when Ricky got pinned 1, 2, 3 off Darby, he was shaking a lot. You could tell he was in hell of a lot of pain. And if anyone's not seen the picture of his back, go on Reddit, research it. Ugh, looks horrific. A bad receipt from that move. But if you want to put your body on the line, that is your choice. So what the finish was, Mox and Darby were in the ring, and Tony Khan tells the commentators they're going to have a match for the title. Is it next week, Gary?
Yeah, it's at the end of next week's episode.
Next week. I personally enjoyed this match to an extent. I generally thought some of the moves they were doing, I really enjoy big, horrific spots. I'm a bit of a freak when it comes to that sort of stuff. That tack spot's all hell for Ricky accepting to take that, and Darby putting full force of his feet into that. Respect to you, because if I was a wrestler, if I went into that, I would have thoughts about doing it or not. I thought it was a fun little match. Good thing to finish. Gary, I know you have different thoughts.
Yeah, Moxie's title reign. And this does link into MJF. 100%, it needs a reset. And it needs a reset not as quickly as possible, obviously, because we need to get to the pay-per-view before it does. I don't want to see Darby win next week. I really don't. And I don't mean that badly towards Darby. I just think it's a little bit early for him to get the title. I would much rather see him evolve and take it off of MJF once he's got it. I just think that Darby is one of them characters at the minute where he's unpredictable enough. He doesn't need the title. You know, like you watch him and you just go, what is he going to do next? Because there's always something more insane than he did in the previous match. Always. So long as the wrestler or athlete or performer, whatever word you prefer, so long as they are opposite from him and they are willing to take whatever crazy move he comes up with, then go for it. He is your apex stuntman. He is intelligent beyond it, and he knows what to get him over. And I just admire him so much for that, because he will put his body on the line just for me to watch TV every week.
Yeah.
And I think anyone that has that sort of philosophy deserves something out of the career. I just don't think it's time for Darby Allin just yet. And 100% that promo from MJF just set up John versus MJF.
Yeah,
beautifully.
Do you actually think there'll be a bit of a actual tease of a title change? Because when I first heard Darby and Mox, I was like, why the hell is Darby going against Mox? He's fifth place in the rankings. Even the commentators mentioned that. And just to top it off, why book it? And just again, Darby got beat off Jericho like when he went against for the title as well. So he's had more title shots than anybody. Darby from next week, and straight away, I didn't think Darby was going to win. I just think Cage and Ricky are just going to show up and absolutely do him in. Personally, I don't see him winning, but I can just relay what you've just said there, Gary. I don't want Darby to win. The only title I want Darby to win in the coming year is something off Cody. Don't care what it is.
TNT.
Yeah, just something.
I want him to win. I actually want him to be the next TNT champion. I want it to be done in front of a crowd as well, so I might be waiting a long while.
I just want Lance Archer to hold it all. Give them tag team champions, TNT, and the main one, and just give them the women's one.
I think the thing that Lance Archer can do with Darby Allin, right, and the match that they can put together is sort of salivating if you think about it, with some random stuff, because neither man turns around and minds about putting their body on the line. Neither man. So you're going to get something similar at the start of the match next week. It's just the big imposing Lance Archer versus the underdog Darby Allin that's got heart of steel, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think that storyline in wrestling just works every time that you put it in front of you, so long as you don't do it every time, if you get what I mean. It got a little bit old with Rey Mysterio, and he kept overcoming all of these different obstacles, and then all of a sudden he is bigger than that big man, if you get what I mean. So it's just, he's no longer the underdog, and I always think that you need to keep that with someone like Darby Allin.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's how he's got over with that sort of aspect. The good thing is, I think even like a Lance Archer feud is way off. I think it's going to be the Darby versus Ricky for the next couple of weeks, leading up to the Darby versus Cage, because I wouldn't mind. I would love to see a proper gritty match between Darby and Ricky. Give them like some weapons and stuff, and then have like a normal match of Cage and Darby, because the Ricky and Darby match. Wow, just wow. Just feed that to me. Just give that to me like MGS
give
promo.
It now.
Yeah.
Hand it over.
And I think as well, because I have seen Ricky's back on the images, it looks horrific. He would have subconsciously, even though he did accept the bump, subconsciously some like, I'm going to do something to you, Darby, just as like, dig to you. So
he's ordered a receipt now, isn't he? So
correct,
no matter what, Darby Allin has to say yes. And you know he will.
He will. But all in all, okay, I agree with you though with the title. I just don't think it should change at all. And I think it should just be MGF, Mox, promo. Fantastic match. That's all I want.
Yeah, that's all I'd want from that feud. And then some. I also think that Mox works so much better in chasing role rather than as champion.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that right the way through his career. And I just think when it comes to him going in as a champion, I've not really got any interest in seeing him retain it. So
I don't.
Hopefully, if we sort of hit reset, we give the belt to MJF and we just work forward from there. I mean, there's no saying that once the fans come back, you can't give it back to Moxley. Because I think that, again, I think I said this to you before, Moxley is the one character I think has suffered from the not being any fans in the arena.
He is. You would think, really, it's like someone like Orange because he plays off the fans, but no, he's done really, really well without the fans. Definitely, 100% Mox has been affected without the fans. But all in all, this episode I can summarise as you're making an omelette. You check your cupboard, you've already put the eggs in the thing, you realise, I haven't got some of the ingredients. You make a bit of a mess of the omelette, you burn it, you throw it in the bin, and then you make scrambled eggs because scrambled eggs are always good. So that's how I summarise this episode.
Yeah. I think with this episode, right, I know that I was crowing about it earlier, and I think it's the greatest thing that pro wrestling's produced in years. But the MJF promo, I think everything else was built around it. And as MJF said, I've been given an exorbitant amount of time to do this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
And
like
I just,
for this week, that was their main concern. They didn't care about anything else, sort of thing.
Yeah, and it definitely shone through the show, but it definitely was enough to make that show worthy of being able to be watched. Even if you go onto YouTube and just watch the clip, it's about 6.5 minutes, and it's just the promo, but it is something that every wrestling fan, whether you mark out for NXT or you love AEW or you think WWE is the greatest thing since sliced bread, or you're a lapsed fan since WCW closed, ECW fan, like Impact, NWA. I don't care what your preference is, even if it's NJPW, AJPW, anything.
You trying to
Just
breathe,
make
Gary?
sure you watch that promo. That's
I
all
agree.
I can say.
Yeah, I can just reiterate that. And I generally thought we were going to be here for another hour, you going through every company known to man. But much appreciated
In
for...
all fairness, it's called Equal Opportunities.
Hashtag women's division.
Yes, absolutely. Save the women's division, people.
It is Save the Women. Okay, so much appreciated everyone for listening. We'll get this out as quickly as we can. And again, Twitter details, we will be doing this. We're revamping a little bit of our branding, getting everything sorted. We've done at least, this is our 4th podcast now. So we'll get this uploaded. We're going to look into things over this weekend and get a few videos ready for you. So a few different discussions around the team, maybe a few lists. And I've got a really, really good idea to show you all, hosted by myself, and Gary will have his own as well. But thank you all, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you.